Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the key to winning isn't speaking louder, isn't proving yourself, and isn't rushing to react? What if I told you that true power, true influence, and real success come from doing something most people fear, staying silent? Today, I'm going to show you why the quietest people often achieve the loudest victories, and how mastering silence can change everything in your life. Imagine for a moment how much noise surrounds us every single day: opinions, advice, arguments, distractions, and yet we rarely stop to think about what staying silent could actually teach us. Silence is not emptiness, silence is strategy. Silence is power. When you learn to stay silent, you learn to win not by shouting louder than everyone else, but by listening, observing, and understanding the world before you react to it. Most of us believe that to succeed, we need to constantly make our voices heard. We think winning means dominating the conversation, proving a point, or reacting faster than anyone else. But true influence rarely comes from speaking first. True influence comes from understanding first. It comes from absorbing more than you project. It comes from creating a space where your actions, not your words, carry the weight. When you stay silent, you give yourself the gift of clarity. You give yourself the chance to see what others cannot see. You notice patterns, intentions, and opportunities that are invisible to those who are always talking, always reacting, always desperate to be heard. Silence is not weakness, it is not a retreat, it is an internal strength. It is choosing to pause when everyone else is rushing to react. It is choosing to observe when others are choosing to speak without thought. And in that pause, in that observation, lies a profound advantage. Every great leader, every great innovator, every person who has achieved meaningful success has learned the art of listening before responding. They understand that words are powerful, but timing is more powerful. Timing is the difference between influence and insignificance. When you remain silent, you also protect your energy. Consider how much energy is wasted in arguments, in trying to justify ourselves, in explaining things to people who are not ready to understand. Words are finite and they carry weight. If you scatter them recklessly, you give away your influence. But when you measure your words, when you allow silence to guide your expression, each word you choose carries impact. Silence becomes a tool of precision. It teaches you to speak less, but to speak with purpose, beyond strategy. Silence shapes character. When you resist the urge to react to every slight, every insult, every misunderstanding, you cultivate patience. Patience builds resilience. Resilience builds wisdom. Wisdom allows you to navigate challenges with clarity rather than chaos, to move through life with a sense of calm rather than desperation. And this calm, this quiet confidence is what attracts people, builds trust, and establishes your authority in ways shouting never could. Silence also gives you perspective. When you are quiet, you can reflect on your own actions, your own motivations, your own goals. You can separate what is urgent from what is important, what is trivial from what is meaningful. Most people never take this time. They are too busy speaking, reacting, convincing, defending. But the person who masters silence sees the bigger picture. They understand when to act, when to step back, and when to wait for the right moment. And in life, the right moment is everything. Timing changes everything. The world teaches us that noise equals progress, that volume equals value. But the truth is, the people who truly win, the people who make a lasting impact, know that silence is a language all its own. Silence gives you control over your mind, your emotions, and your environment. Silence allows you to listen to what is not being said, to anticipate what is coming, and to act with intention rather than impulse. When you learn to stay silent, you discover that influence, power, and success are not about how much noise you make. They are about how much attention you command without saying a word. Silence becomes your strategy, your armor, your superpower, and the world begins to respond to you in ways that words alone never could. Silence also teaches you the value of patience in a way that constant noise never can. When you resist the urge to react immediately, you allow situations to unfold naturally. You give people the space to reveal their true intentions. You allow the circumstances to show their real shape. In life, most people make mistakes not because they lack knowledge or skill, but because they fail to pause, fail to consider, fail to wait for the clarity that silence brings. Silence allows you to gather information, to assess risks, to see opportunities that others miss because they are too busy speaking, too busy asserting, too busy proving themselves. Think about the power of listening in a room full of voices. The person who speaks less, who observes more, gains access to insights that are invisible to those who are loudest. They hear the truths that others try to hide. They notice patterns in behavior. They understand the underlying motivations that drive decisions, and this understanding gives them a strategic advantage. The quiet person is not powerless. They are patient, calculating, and aware. They know when to act, when to interject, and when to remain still. Every word they speak is intentional, weighted with purpose, and capable of making a difference that noise could never achieve. When you master silence, you also learn to master your own mind. So often, people are trapped in a cycle of overthinking, overreacting, and over-explaining. Words are wasted on insecurities, on defending yourself unnecessarily, on reacting to the opinions of others. Silence interrupts this cycle. It gives you control over your thoughts. It gives you clarity over your emotions. It allows you to focus your energy on what truly matters. In silence, you find the space to reflect, to plan, and to act deliberately. You learn that responding with thoughtfulness is far more powerful than responding with reflexive emotion. Silence strengthens relationships as well. People are drawn to those who do not demand constant attention, who do not need to dominate every conversation. Silence invites trust. Silence creates space for others to express themselves fully. When you listen more than you speak, you learn the stories, the fears, and the aspirations of those around you. And in doing so, you gain influence not through pressure or persuasion, but through understanding and empathy. This influence is quiet but unshakable, because it is built on respect and insight rather than noise and force. In moments of conflict, silence becomes your most effective tool. The instinct to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to counterattack is strong, but it is rarely productive. By remaining silent, you create a pause that allows tension to dissipate. You allow perspective to enter, where impulsive reactions would have clouded judgment. The silent person in a heated debate often gains control not by winning arguments, but by refusing to participate in the chaos. Their restraint commands attention, their calm draws focus, and their eventual words carry far more impact than a flurry of defensive reactions ever could. Silence also nurtures creativity. When your mind is not crowded by the constant noise of self-expression and external demands, it has the space to wander, to imagine, to innovate. Some of the greatest ideas come not when people are speaking, but when they are quietly observing, reflecting, and connecting dots that are invisible in the clamor of conversation. By embracing silence, you give yourself the room to think deeply, to explore possibilities, and to develop solutions that others might never see. The people who achieve lasting success understand that not every battle needs to be fought, not every opinion needs to be voiced, and not every moment of tension requires immediate resolution. They know that silence is a form of discipline, a practice that cultivates strength, patience, and awareness. By learning to stay silent, you also learn restraint, the ability to distinguish between what deserves your energy and what does not. You learn focus, the ability to direct your efforts toward what truly advances your goals. And you learn strategy, the ability to act at the precise moment when your words and actions will have maximum impact. Silence teaches humility as well. It reminds you that you do not always have the answers, that there is value in observation over assertion, and that understanding often comes before action. When you embrace silence, you stop trying to impress others with constant talking, and instead allow your competence, your character, and your actions to speak for themselves. People respect and follow those who demonstrate self-control, who do not need validation through noise, and who operate with quiet confidence. Every great decision, every act of influence, every strategic victory has roots in the practice of restraint. Silence sharpens your perception, refines your judgment, and strengthens your capacity for meaningful action. It is the bridge between thought and execution, between understanding and influence. The more you cultivate silence in your life, the more you realize that words alone are not what create change. Action, timing, and insight do. And those who learn this lesson find that the world responds to them in ways that are profound, lasting, and transformative. Silence is not simply the absence of sound, it is the presence of awareness. It is the cultivation of patience, the sharpening of insight, and the development of a power that is quiet yet undeniable. To stay silent is not to surrender. It is to prepare, to observe, and to position yourself so that when the moment comes, your influence is undeniable, your decisions are precise, and your victories are inevitable. It is through silence that you learn to navigate life not reactively, but intentionally, not with noise, but with clarity, not with impulse, but with purpose. Silence teaches you the art of observation, and observation is the foundation of mastery. When you stop speaking to react and start watching to understand, you begin to notice the subtle currents that drive human behavior. You see the gaps in knowledge, the inconsistencies in plans, the vulnerabilities that are invisible to those who are caught up in speaking, defending, or performing. Observation is not passive, it is active engagement through stillness. It allows you to anticipate outcomes, to prepare for challenges before they arrive, and to position yourself in ways that people who speak first cannot imagine. In this space, silent people gain foresight that becomes their competitive advantage. Every moment of silence is an investment in power. It is the decision to hold back, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Most people confuse silence with weakness, believing that speaking constantly is the only way to prove presence. But presence is not proven by volume, presence is proven by impact. When you measure your words and reserve your voice for moments that matter, those words carry weight far beyond what the noise of the crowd can produce. Silence becomes a magnet for attention because it signals control, self-awareness, and confidence. People listen when you speak because they know your words are deliberate, not reflexive. Silence also strengthens your ability to handle pressure. Life is full of moments where the stakes are high, where the world seems to demand an immediate reaction, and where emotions run wild. In these moments, people who lack control over their voice often speak prematurely, react impulsively, and escalate situations unnecessarily. The silent person, however, uses the pause to breathe, to assess, and to choose their response wisely. That pause is not hesitation, it is strategy. It is the difference between being pulled into chaos and directing the flow of events with calm precision. Silence under pressure is an invisible shield that protects you from mistakes and positions you to seize opportunities when they arise. In the business of influence, silence is often more persuasive than speech. Consider a negotiation where one party fills room with words, justifying every point, explaining every nuance, trying to assert dominance. And then there is the person who says little, who listens more than they speak. Their silence forces others to fill the gaps, reveal information they might otherwise withhold, and expose their true intentions. The quiet person never appears desperate or reactive. They appear deliberate, confident, and in control. Silence becomes a psychological advantage. It draws people in, invites transparency, and creates a dynamic where others willingly yield power without realizing it. Silence cultivates resilience. The ability to resist the urge to speak impulsively is a muscle. The more you practice restraint, the stronger that muscle becomes. You learn to endure tension without reacting, withstand criticism without defensiveness, and to maintain composure when chaos surrounds you. This resilience allows you to navigate challenges with clarity, to make decisions that are not clouded by emotion, and to operate consistently even in environments that reward reactionary behavior. People respect resilience more than rhetoric. They follow it, they trust it, and they are drawn to it. Learning to stay silent also deepens your self-awareness. When you are not constantly reacting to the noise around you, you have space to reflect on your own thoughts, beliefs, and motivations. You begin to understand why you feel certain emotions, why you react in particular ways, and where your energy is best invested. This self-awareness is not just a personal advantage, it is a strategic one. It allows you to align your actions with your long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. It allows you to operate from a place of intention rather than habit, and it allows you to make choices that build momentum instead of creating friction. Silence nurtures creativity and innovation. In a world that celebrates constant output, those who pause gain the opportunity to think differently. They connect ideas that others never consider. They explore possibilities without distraction, experiment without pressure, and develop solutions that are original and effective. Noise crowds the mind, silence frees it. The quiet thinker is often the one who sees the path others cannot, who designs strategies others cannot imagine, and who creates outcomes that are transformative rather than conventional. The power of silence extends into relationships, leadership, and influence. When you do not rush to speak, you give others the gift of being heard. You create trust because people feel seen and understood. You lead by example, demonstrating patience, humility, and emotional intelligence. You show that influence is earned through understanding and insight, not through volume and force. People follow those who are intentional with their voice, who operate from awareness, and who act with purpose. Silence is the quiet architect of success. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your character, and amplifies your influence. It is the invisible force that allows you to act decisively, think strategically, and observe keenly. It is not the absence of action. It is the preparation for the most effective action. Those who master silence find that the world begins to respond to them, not because they speak the loudest, but because when they choose to speak, their words carry the authority, insight, and clarity that others cannot ignore. Through silence, you learn timing, patience, resilience, observation, and focus. You learn to separate what truly matters from what does not. You learn to act with precision rather than impulsivity. You learn that influence is not a matter of volume, but of wisdom, understanding, and intentionality. And in this mastery of silence, you discover a strength that is quiet, yet unyielding, subtle yet undeniable, deliberate yet transformative. Silence becomes not just a practice, but a way of life, a strategy for navigating the world with power and purpose. Silence is also the teacher of patience, and patience is the cornerstone of true success. When you resist the urge to react immediately, you allow life to reveal its natural rhythm. You give events the space to unfold, people the space to show their intentions, and opportunities the space to appear at the right moment. Most failures occur not because of lack of skill or knowledge, but because decisions were made hastily, words were spoken impulsively, or actions were taken without reflection. Silence gives you the pause necessary to make deliberate choices, to measure risks, and to act when the impact of your actions is greatest. Every person who achieves lasting influence understands that silence is a form of discipline. It is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of strategy. The world often celebrates the loudest voices, but the quietest minds are the ones who anticipate trends, see solutions, and move with foresight. While others are distracted by the need to assert themselves, the silent person observes, analyzes, and positions themselves for decisive action. This kind of discipline requires self-control. It requires the ability to resist external pressure, the need for validation, and the temptation to speak before thinking. It is a daily practice that builds strength over time, shaping individuals who can navigate chaos with composure and clarity. Silence fosters emotional intelligence. When you listen more than you speak, you learn to recognize not just words, but the emotions behind them. You notice frustration, fear, ambition, and hope before they are openly expressed. This awareness allows you to respond with empathy and insight rather than defensiveness or reaction. People are drawn to those who understand them on a deeper level, who respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, and who create an environment of trust and respect. Influence is not about controlling others, it is about understanding them, and silence is the gateway to that understanding. Silence amplifies focus. In a world overflowing with distractions, those who can quiet the noise within and around them gain clarity of purpose. They can distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. They can prioritize actions that move the needle, rather than scattering energy on trivialities. Focus is a rare skill, yet it is cultivated through stillness. The more you practice silence, the more you can direct your attention deliberately, the more you can engage deeply, and the more meaningful your actions become. The silent mind is not passive, it is sharply attuned to what truly matters. Creativity thrives in silence. When the mind is not cluttered by incessant talking, defending, or reacting, it has the freedom to explore possibilities, connect ideas, and imagine solutions that others cannot see. Noise crowds the imagination, silence frees it. Great innovations, breakthroughs, and original ideas often come from moments of quiet reflection, observation, and contemplation. By embracing silence, you create the environment in which your most profound thoughts and strategies can emerge. In leadership, silence is a tool of profound influence. The leader who does not rush to fill every space with words gains respect and authority. People instinctively notice when someone speaks less but with purpose. Silence allows others to contribute, to express themselves fully, and to reveal information that would otherwise remain hidden. It creates a dynamic where the leader's words carry impact because they are measured, intentional, and strategic. Leadership is not about dominating conversations. It is about guiding, inspiring, and making decisions that create meaningful outcomes, and silence is central to that process. Silence also nurtures resilience. When you can endure discomfort without reacting impulsively, you develop a mental and emotional fortitude that others lack. Challenges, criticism, and setbacks lose their ability to provoke rash actions. You respond with thoughtfulness, adapt with flexibility, and act with precision. Resilience built through silence allows you to face adversity without losing composure, to maintain consistency under pressure, and to emerge from difficult situations stronger than before. Through silence, you cultivate awareness of yourself, of others, and of the environment around you. You learn to observe patterns, to recognize intentions, and to anticipate outcomes. You see the opportunities that others overlook and the mistakes that others make too quickly. This heightened awareness becomes the foundation of strategic thinking. It allows you to act deliberately, to influence effectively, and to navigate life with a sense of purpose and clarity that noise can never provide. Silence is also the pathway to humility. It reminds you that you do not need to prove yourself constantly, that you do not need to validate your worth through words, and that true strength is measured by action, not volume. By cultivating silence, you allow your competence, your insight, and your integrity to speak for you. People are drawn to those who do not need to shout to be heard, who operate from confidence rather than ego, and who demonstrate their value through their presence, decisions, and results. Finally, silence strengthens decision making. The ability to pause, reflect, and gather information before acting ensures that your choices are informed, deliberate, and impactful. Impulse fades, distraction fades, and clarity emerges. Decisions made from a place of thoughtful silence carry more weight, create greater results, and build long-term influence. In learning to stay silent, you learn to master your mind, control your energy, and align your actions with your goals. Silence is not empty. It is fertile ground from which power, influence, and success grow.